when we're done. I've been working with Dan for a few years, and gosh, probably about a year and a half now since we got into this conversation about the impact that the iBuyers are having on our industry and the way that it affects things. And it's funny because I started with Fidelity right around the time that Open Door started buying homes in Arizona. And there was no correlation there, but I'd walk into offices and I didn't know anything about Open Door or what their plan was, but I just knew that people would say they won't last. They'll be gone in no time. Did you see the way they're buying these houses? They're paying way too much for them. They can't last. So now we fast forward 5 years, and in some cases they're still overpaying for houses, and they're still losing money. But they've got lots of money left, and so they're not going anywhere. But they're definitely changing the way that people think about buying a home and selling their home. And so, in fact, Dan is helping my stepdaughter-ish with selling her home, and she is been in a situation where her and her husband, they moved up into North Phoenix, and they want to be in Gilbert, but they want a new house, and they have all these things that they want along with it. And so they decided they were going to do a new build in Gilbert, and they started that process. And they're like, well, we need to be able to push back moving, but we need to make sure we've got a deal on our house when we're going to move. And they've got a 1-year-old baby at home, and they've got 2 big dogs, and she works from home. And she's like, I just don't know how we're going to do this. She's like, we're just going to sell our house to Open Door. And I said, well, before you do that, let's get you into some conversations. But and let's take a look and see what is the best option for you and what is going to be the best thing. So Dan is going to meet with her and go over all of her different options so she can see if she sells Open Door or OfferPad or whoever that is, what the financial impact is going to be for her, and she can make a decision based on that instead of just assuming and going with it. Mm-hmm. But for her, the money is not the biggest thing, and it's so natural for us to think that it is. Mm-hmm. That it's so natural for us to think that that's going to be the most important part for somebody, and so instead though, we need to really kind of find out what they're most important for her. It's not having to keep a clean house with a baby, working from home, and 2 big dogs, mm-hmm. And being able to know when she's got a deal and when she's going to sell her house. She doesn't have to worry about somebody going and buying a new car the week before closing and not being able to qualify for the property anymore or anything like that. So it's that certainty of the sale. So Dan's going to talk a lot about all of that stuff to you guys, and he's going to take you guys into some cool tools and resources. If you guys decide to go down the road of getting IREP certified, we are going to be amazing partners for you because we've been involved with the program since the very beginning, and we've helped to bring different tools and resources for identifying people who are likely to sell their home and putting and coming up with the strategies to put you in touch with them. And it doesn't matter if you're somebody who wants to dial and make 400 calls a day, or if you're somebody that wants to door knock, or somebody that wants to send out handwritten notes. That there's a strategy for everybody, and so we can help you to get those strategies implemented. So make sure you grab one of my cards, because when we're done with this today, Dan's going to give you the tools and the overall ability. You can have as many deals as you want next year. It's just a matter of what you want to do to put all that together. And we can be a part of helping you to get to whatever those goals are for you. So, Mr. Dan Noah, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. So, my name is Dan Noah. This is an interactive class, but I have a cold. So, if you guys can't hear me, just say, Dan, I can't hear you. I'll try to speak up a little bit. Stuffy nose. Anyone else have this stuffy nose this week? It's been brutal. My kids have it. I have 3-year-old triplets at home. So,
I might be the wrong class. Is there supposed to be a Kenny class? Am I in the wrong class?
Oh, well, this is the substitute Kenny class today. So yeah. So Dan and Kenny teach the class together. Okay. And Kenny he got pulled away to something else. So yeah.
Okay.
He's in Fresno today, teaching another class. Same class, but in Fresno. So Kenny and I travel around the country now. We teach real estate agents how to work with iBuyers and disruptors kind of in our market. So a little bit about me. So my iBuyer story really starts about 6 years ago. Has anyone ever done a transaction with a company called Venture REI? So our company here, our core business is really working with institutions, private equity groups, hedge funds, big groups that come in, they'll buy thousands of homes to rent. That's kind of been my core business, right? I started in this business. One of my clients was the originator of Invitation Homes. So you guys heard of those guys at all? Mm-hmm. So these guys buy thousands and thousands of properties, right? Today they own about 89,000 properties across the country. But Open Door walked into our market about 6 years ago, and I started kind of looking at this model, and probably like a lot of you guys, I was like, this is going to be interesting. I think these guys are here to take my job. I think that something's going on here, right? They've got all these consumer eyeballs, and they're buying a bunch of houses with a different message than what I've got. So fast forward a little bit, in 2018, my team learned how to work with these guys, right? And we took a little bit of a different mindset, and I'll walk you through that a little bit today. When we started doing that, in 18, my team did 3,500 transactions here in Phoenix, selling homes to iBuyers and institutions, right? And so there's opportunity in this. And so what we learned pretty quickly is that these guys aren't bad. They really do want to buy houses. And so kind of the running thing that I've been doing as we've been traveling around is I've been asking people, like, if I had a referral for you and they had $1 billion and they wanted to buy houses for cash, would you take the referral? Mm-hmm. Cool. So you already got a bunch. They're all here, right? So, in Arizona, we're inundated by this stuff, right? The iBuyers started here. They're ramping up here. You're going to see more of this stuff here. I actually just had lunch with Open Door. That's where I just came from. Their C-level team, and this is not going anywhere. This is a big deal. Like, these guys are definitely here to play and definitely here to be real. And so, just to give you some idea, in the last 3 years, $30 billion has been invested in technology and disruption in our industry, right? The idea that they're going to uproot what we've been doing, and it's going to need to change a little bit. These buy boxes change constantly. So do you guys remember when Open Door first started in Phoenix? They were only buying homes up to $300,000, and now they're buying up homes up to $550,000. 2 weeks ago, they just reduced their buy box from 1960 to 1950 builds. That in our market opened up 550,000 homes that they can now buy in our market, right? So it's just a crazy number of opportunities for us to start swinging at. A little bit of a different game. Single family for rent. So I could talk for hours. I could teach you a whole other class about single family for rent. But the reality is that single family for rent is a new asset class, right? So there's always been rental properties out there, but there hasn't been Wall Street investment into these rental properties. Just in about the last 10 years, we started to see this. Well, there's a conference here today. So the JW Marriott has this huge conference called IMN. So you'll probably see some of your peers going to this thing. And what they're talking about is single family for rent. These institutions are very, very well capitalized. They're buying a ton of homes. And so today they own about 400,000 homes across the country, right? In our market alone, there's Invitation Homes, for example, owns about 7,000 homes here, right? So we're the largest owner of single family homes in the state of Arizona. So how do we sell them houses, right? These guys just want to buy houses. Let's figure out ways to sell them houses. According to Inman, 64% of all home sales by 2024 will be done in cash. What I mean by that is not just like homes sold to Open Door, but have you guys heard of Knock yet? Mm-hmm. So Knock, he's that guy that's always on your Facebook feed. He's got a super tight shirt. Cool. That guy, so what their value proposition is basically they give a consumer money to buy their next home so that they can move easily, right? They give them the cash to buy their next home, and then they sell their existing home after they've already moved. So they're taking advantage of a cash sale, right? So there's hundreds of companies like that are coming out of the market today. So this idea that there's going to be 64% of the market will be all cash sales is real. Cash is king. Wall Street's definitely jumped into this thing. Here's a little map to kind of show you guys where these guys have been or where they're coming from. So I mean, we know some of these big names, right? Zillow, Redfin, Open Door, Knock, OfferPad, but how about some of these guys on the right? Sunday, have you guys heard of those guys yet? Mm-hmm. So Sunday, they have a cool value proposition. They buy all the properties that Open Door and OfferPad don't, right? So they'll buy all townhomes, condos. They'll buy houses out of the price point, homes that need additional rehab, ton of extra rehab. Perch, Flywheels, Jawai, all of these guys they're real iBuyers. They're here to buy houses. We'll skip over me. So probably like a lot of you guys, I started with this message, right? I jumped in and I said, okay, they aren't making any money, right? They're not here. They're lowballing my clients. The Zestimate's wrong. Anybody ever tell their clients the Zestimate was wrong? I used to tell my clients the Zestimate was 30% off, and it was 30 days late. Anyone ever used that line before? Have you checked it now since Zillow offers started in our market? It's pretty close. It's about they advertise it's within 2%. My team says they think it's closer to about 1% of what we would actually list a property for retail. That's how close and accurate their information is. So I started looking at this, right? Did anybody go to Zillow Unlock? It was in Vegas about a month ago. No. So cool event. They do it every year. I suggest you guys go. It's one of those that I think it's like $100. It's not a super expensive ticket. Maybe a little pain to get up there, but when you go, there's a ton going on. It's not just about Zillow. We talk about all kinds of things going on in the industry. Zillow's really a data company, right? And so one of the things that they do is they went over these statistics, and these really resonated to Kenny and I when we were building this course, is that they said, when I started thinking about this, I wanted to know why these iBuyers existed, right? So these statistics pointed at exactly 73% of the time. So this is a survey of people that sold their home in 2018. So all people, Zillow went out, surveyed all their consumers, and these statistics come from that. So whether they sold their home to an iBuyer or not, didn't matter. They just surveyed the entire population to come up with some statistics. 73% of those people surveyed said that they had to improve their property before they had to list the home. So how many of us are doing that? Telling our clients that they have to paint their home before they sell it, right? 62% of the time, they had to lower the list price during the sale process. So we're losing money while the house is sitting on the market. 82% of the time, there's some form of a concession at close, right? It's a massive number. So, you're listing a house at $300,000, and 82% of the time, they're taking some kind of discount from that number, right? 40% of the time, at least one of those offers fall through, and then they got to show it 4 times. So I told you guys, I have 3-year-old triplets at home. Can you imagine me trying to get my house ready to show about 4 times? It's super impossible, right? This is the one that stands out the most to me. So 95% of the homeowners say that at least one of the selling activities was too stressful for them, right? And these are the stressors. They said time frame, price, preparing the home for sale, and fall through. These were all the things that made it too stressful for them. They didn't want to do it again, right? Any of you guys ever go try to hand your cards out at a Christmas party or a holiday party?
Nobody wants.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk to real estate agents, right? This is why, right? They're too stressed out. They don't want to hang out with us. This doesn't work. So let's back this up a little bit. So Open Door was the first player in this game, right? Open Door walked into this market about 6 years ago is when this vision came. They're not a computer. It's actually, this is the CEO of Open Door. His name's Eric Wu. So when Eric started the company, he started with a vision. He said, look, I think that there's a segment of consumers that want to transact a little bit differently. I think that that the traditional real estate model of listing your home on a retail market is dated, and I think it could use a little sprucing up. What we didn't know about this is that Eric was right. So today, they just told me today, this month they'll make 120,000 offers to consumers across the country. 120,000 people go on their website, right? In our market alone, talking about 18,000 consumers go direct to Open Door before they ever call a real estate agent. 18,000. Any of you guys get 18,000 leads on your website?
That's an annual number?
That's a monthly number.
That's a monthly.
Monthly number. Yeah. 18,000 leads per month going to their system in Phoenix alone. 120,000 nationwide. So the reality is like what we as a real estate industry just need to understand. Like, I'm a real estate guy. I'm not an iBuyer. Like, I'm not here advocating for iBuyers and telling you guys that iBuyers are right or wrong. I kind of don't care. But what I'm telling you is that the consumers are speaking. Right? The consumers are the ones driving this. The consumers are the ones saying, I want to transact differently. I want to do something a little bit differently. But they're doing it in massive volume. So we just need to recognize that and start to play with these guys, right? So Eric never said that he was going to come out and take over real estate agents. That wasn't the plan. What's happening is we as a real estate community we're kind of beating ourselves up. Any of you guys getting an open door offer or getting an offer pad offer before you go on your listing appointments?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know? So what was frustrating to me, especially in my brokerage, is that I was having agents do that, but they'd show up and they go, here's this offer, but you don't want it, right? And the issue is like, that's not the way to go, right? Our consumers know better. Our consumers are actually pretty smart. So let's talk about the consumer a little bit. So I might be the only guy you guys ever meet that has I have a mindset coach, right? So I have a coach that we study not only my mindset, but I study other people's mindset. I want to know how my consumers are thinking, because if I figure out a way if I know how they're thinking, it'll help me figure out how they're going to react, right? So I dove deep into this, and the things I wanted to study, and what we figured out through this process is we figured out that consumers started to demand something different, right? We all buy stuff on Amazon. We agree to that? So Jeff Bezos did this to us. This guy, he's super smart. So I call this the Bezos effect. So everything else we do as a consumer, we go out and we get choice, right? So I'm 38 years old. The first time I actually started buying goods for myself, I was in college. And the only way I knew how to buy them was on Amazon. That's how I started buying stuff. So think about the way that I transact, the way that I consume all other goods in my life is super convenient, right? Everything else that I do except the real estate transactions is convenient. Have you guys seen Carvana, right? See all those things? Like, how convenient is that? They deliver their car to your house. Awesome, right? They'll pick up your own car and take it back to the dealership. You don't even have to go in anymore. Right, so think about that as we're thinking about this process a little bit. The other piece that consumers started demanding was certainty. Right, our consumers. This is like, I always say, this is the greatest time in U.S. history to be in real estate, and it's because of the certainty factor. It's the only time that we've ever been able to offer our consumers 100% certainty. We can actually say to them, we know what you're going to get for the home, which day the inspection is going to be, how much you're going to net at close of escrow, and I know the exact close date. We've never been able to do that before, right? So this demand for certainty is interesting, right? There's a segment of consumers that want to transact this way. The other piece of this is control, right? So everything else we do as a consumer, right? So we're putting our consumer hat on, agent hat goes away. This is a realtor safe zone too, by the way. So we can talk about realtor stuff in here. Our clients aren't listening. Everything else we do, we have 100% control over, except in a real estate transaction, right? That's the only transaction that we have as a consumer where we don't have control. We don't know when we're going to get a call and someone wants to come visit our home, right, for a show. Right. Or if our agent is available that weekend and they want to set up an open house, we're kind of victim to that. We have to just do it, right? We have no control over the transaction. And then if you think about everything else we do as a consumer, the other piece is transparency, right? So if you go back to Amazon, you buy something on Amazon, you know the exact day it's going to be delivered, the exact cost to get it delivered, right? Now they're even telling us what time it'll be at my office. Like when they drop stuff off at our office, I know exactly which time it's going to be there. How transparent is that? So if we're going to our clients and see where the friction is, right? So if we have this little friction with our clients, like everything else that they're doing, they come to this hard stop when they come up to a real estate transaction because it's not that way. That's a little problematic, right? So we're just talking about the way consumers think, the way humans are wired. So what do? We think real estate agents just need to shift a little bit, right? We don't get eliminated in all of this. We just have to shift the way that we operate a little bit. So the idea now is that the agent becomes an advisor, right? The agent, the cool thing, and one of the biggest gifts that I think the iBuyers gave us, is they gave us the ability to be the ultimate aggregator, right? Open Door can never get an offer from OfferPad. OfferPad can never get an offer from Zillow. But you as an agent, you can get offers from all of those guys, and you can bring those to your clients and show them all of their available options, right? And the consumer doesn't have to enter their information, their private information, on all of those individual websites either. So the cool thing is now we get to be something a little bit different. We just have to start being an advisor. The other piece of this is I always say, like, the playing field's been leveled, right? So I win all kinds of awards here, right? So I win like 40 under 40 and 35 under 35. I've won all those cool awards. All the trophies stay in my office. My team never takes those trophies out anymore, right? They're collecting dust because our consumer doesn't care, right? So how many #1 agents do you guys think you're gonna have just in your office, right? Everybody's got the #1 agent card thing going on. What the heck? Like, no one cares. And I laugh about Kenny because Kenny, I used to not drive to Mesa because I didn't want to see Kenny Klaus signs all over the place. You guys ever been to Mesa? They're all over the place, right? So I would say, like, it was defeating for me to drive down the road in Mesa because I was like, I don't want to see Kenny signs all over the place. But now, I can play with Kenny, right? Because I've got the same value proposition he does. It doesn't matter that he sold a home a day for the last 11 years in that market. I have options. I have available options to these consumers, and I'm just going to let them make choice, right? So my job actually got a ton easier. So let's talk about this process a little bit. So you guys said you're going out and you're getting an open door offer right now. Do you do that after you get the listing signed?
During the presentation.
During the presentation. Cool. So we're learning. It's good. I like that. So we learned this process too. So thinking about the way consumers think a little bit, we also learned about the way that these companies started to think a little bit, right? So what I started to learn is that these companies, although like they have humans behind the scenes, there's a lot of this stuff that happens using their computer, right? This computer valuation model. That's how they get to an offer price. So we as a real estate agents, like right now, Open Door reports that less than 8% of the properties we submit actually even have photos. Are you guys sending photos of the property when you're sending it in?
No.
So the problem with that is, right, I'm not beating you up, we're learning.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, if you don't give the machine the right information, then how can we expect good information back from the machine, right? So what we learned is we had to take very specific pictures of these properties that met the logarithms of all these iBuyers so that we could get the highest or best, most educated offer for our clients, right? So we break this down into two steps. First appointment is 100% a fact-finding mission, right? So I'll go into how we get first appointments. But let's say we are at a first listing appointment. My team sits down, and our first step is we take pictures of the property. These are very specific property photos. Anybody ever done a BPO? You guys remember those? I actually got an email last night. They do pay $10 now to do those.
Oh my God.
$10. You can do them. I really did get this one last night. So it's like a BPO, right? So we're filling out a property condition report because I want to educate the buyer, right? These guys are just buyers. Open Door, offer pads, all these guys are just buyers. They're like any other buyer in the market. If we don't give them the right information, we can't expect good information back. Any of you guys ever have that issue where you get an offer from one of these iBuyers and then they go inspect it and they retrade the price?
Oh yeah.
So I actually measure my team's success on that number. That's a number that I believe that if we didn't give the buyer the right information, that means that the onus falls on my agent. My agent didn't do a good job by giving the machine the right information, right? So we measure success on that number. So our number is now less than $500 a transaction. Right? So we know that we're giving the machine accurate information back because I don't want to put my seller in that position. I don't want to put my seller in a position where they've had their home packed up, they're ready to sell, they're ready to rock and roll. We go inspect it, and all of a sudden they got to take a $20,000 haircut, right? That's not my job. I shouldn't have done that. So that's why we really focused on this process. The third piece of this is we get this exclusive right to solicit offers agreement. So I like to call this my adult permission slip. So, think about this. If you guys were going to go into a used car lot, and if the used car salesman was going to come up to you and say, okay, sign the contract on this car right now, and then we'll go test drive it. Would you do that? So then why are we asking our consumers to sign a listing agreement with us up front before they even know what their options are? Right? So what we do is we go out and get an exclusive right to solicit offers agreement. This gives me legal permission to go to the seller and get multiple offers and options on their behalf And then we bring that information back to the consumer and let them decide what's the best option for them before they have to marry us for the next 6 months or a year on a listing contract. Second step of this process is we go back to the office, we submit to all available iBuyers on market. When I mean all, my team right now gets about 17 different offers on every single property we go out for a listing appointment on. 17. Right? So the reason that we do that is because consumers are smart. Right? Have you guys ever gone on a listing appointment, your consumer opens the drawer and they've got an offer already from an open door offer pad? Right? These guys are really good marketers. So what's happening is if we don't bring these options to our consumers, we're actually losing credibility at the table. Right? The other piece of this, if we don't bring those options to the consumer, we're leaving doubt. Right? So the two things that our team focuses on big time is we want to make sure that we are eliminating consumer doubt, right? And we want to make sure that we're giving the consumer all their available options, right? Because what I don't want to have happen is we started presenting these options to our consumers, and like for example, I used to just get the open door offer, and I would present it to a traditional sale and say, okay, here you go, here's your open door offer, here's your traditional sale option. And they'd come back to me and go, what about offer pad? Right? Our consumers are smart. They're already hearing this stuff. Right? So what we can do now is we can actually empower them. We can say, look, I've already done all of this for you. These are your options. Right? So our second appointment, that is my listing presentation. So what you guys are looking at there, that crazy looking chart, that's it. So we don't do the PowerPoint slides or the one-time close, or we don't talk about me. My team never talks about me or my name or any of that kind of stuff. No one cares. All they care about is what's in it for them, right? So we sit down with the consumer and we go over what their available options are. We say to them, look, traditional sale, here's what it's going to take. It's going to take some time, right? You're going to have to trade me time if you want to net this amount of money. We go over the open door offer. We don't just share it as a number. Right, I share it, and I also share their value proposition. Right, so how many of you guys know that Open Door offers like a late checkout? Anyone ever done that program? So Open Door will let you stay in your house 2 weeks post closing, so you can move into your next house. So they go back to me, 3-year-old triplets. Can you imagine me trying to move like simultaneous close and get into my next house? It's almost impossible. Like how stressful is that as a consumer? So the idea, like Dawn's stepdaughter, for example, if I can keep her in that house for 2 weeks, great, right? Her new house will close and she can move into that, great, it's fantastic. Right? So the value proposition is not just a number on a page, right? It's not just about what consumers are going to net. You started to learn a lot about consumers. The more consumers you meet with, the more you're going to learn about this stuff. But the reality is the more people you sit down with, you're going to realize that they don't have the same attachment to equity as we thought they did. Right? We used to believe that we had to get them the highest amount of money in the shortest amount of time. That's what all real estate people are taught us. What we're learning now is there's other things that are more important to them. Convenience, speed, time, certainty, right? All those things become a factor when they're making their home selling decision. Right? So if we share these options, these companies wouldn't be around if those options didn't matter to someone. Right? So they definitely matter to someone. So I sit down with a consumer, we start checking boxes. We go over the open door offer, we go over the offer pad offer, we go over the Zillow option. I start sharing with them all of these local institutions, right? Our national REITs, all those guys, I start checking the box. And I say, look, here you go. What do you think, Mr. and Mrs. Consumer? Now I've eliminated their doubt that there could be other options for them. 62% of the time, our consumers still choose the traditional sale option. So go back in my story, right? I'm a guy that tries to buy houses for institutional REITs. So when I started this process, I thought I was going to buy houses. What I ended up with was listings. That was a problem for me. I needed signs, lockboxes, all that stuff. I had to go recruit a retail team over my brokerage because we weren't set up for this. We didn't have any of this stuff. I was buying lockboxes. Because all of a sudden we had this huge influx of listings. Right? I didn't think consumers were going to react the way that they did. Right? By giving the consumer choice, I just eliminated their doubt that one of these options could have worked for them. And they said, okay, yeah, I'll trade you some time for some more money. We're going to go the traditional route. Let's do it. The other thing I got with consumers is I got really smart consumers. Instead of them overpricing their property, has anyone ever taken an overpriced listing? No? No, they're all perfect, right? Yeah. I've taken a lot, and I don't take them anymore, right? Because now I sit down with a consumer, and I say to them, look, the value of a property is only what a buyer is willing to pay. Therefore, if all these buyers are telling you that the property value is at $285, and you want to list it at $350, I just want you to know, there could be a buyer at $350, but it's going to take me some time to find that buyer. Is that what you want to do? Right? So now I've shifted the power off of that. So think about this. Every 30 days, instead of us doing like a I didn't do my job conversation, anyone have a listing that might need a price reduction coming up?
Possibly.
Yeah. So you have to call your client, like it's the worst call you got to make. My team hates making these calls. We have to call a consumer and say, we didn't do our job this month, we didn't sell your house, but I think if we reduce the price, we're going to get here. Right? So we don't do that anymore at all. All we do is we go out every 30 days, we get new offers. And we have offer conversations with our consumers. So we sit down with them and we say, all right, I did my job. I got you all these offers. What do you think? And they go, well, I still want $350. Okay, just so you know, it's going to take us a little bit of time. I'm going to do that. But you see how the shift in power just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're not looking at me anymore. The consumer's empowered. They've made this decision.
Okay.
They're not looking at me as the issue. Yes, sir.
I wasn't sure if it's okay to ask questions.
Ask, please. Yep.
So I guess I'm confused. Are you for iBuyer or are you against it? And are you offering an alternative? Is that why this Real Estate Pro? Is that I'm not sure what your intention is.
Yeah. We'll get there. But yeah, the answer is. The question was, am I pro iBuyer or am I not pro iBuyer? The answer is I don't care. I really don't care what they choose. If Open Door and OfferPad close their doors tomorrow, it wouldn't bother me one bit. What I'm saying is that our consumers are smart. Our consumers know that this information is available to them. They know that these options are available, and if we as a real estate community withhold that information, we're going to lose that battle every time.
You're offering an alternative, which is Real Estate Pro.
Right.
Okay. I see your intent. Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm not iBuyer. Pro iBuyer. I mean, I'm shocked at how many consumers actually choose the iBuyer option, but I don't have to be the judge of what they're going to do with their money.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter to me. Like I can't be worried about that anymore. Yes,
so
ma'am.
if you choose an iBuyer, how do you get paid?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these clients or potential sellers already, I receive for my home every few months unsolicited offers from OfferPad, Open Door, whatever.
Yeah.
So who's to say that when you go present them the home and they say, oh, well, we've already sent an offer to this one, we're not paying you anything because we've already had a contact with them. How do they pay you?
Yeah, so that offer is only good for 5 days. So as soon as you submit that exclusive right to solicit offers agreement to them, that's good for 30 days, right? So that's a 30-day blanket that they put over that client, and they say, look, that person, what's your name? Elena brought me this client. Therefore, if this client sells their home to us, we owe Elena a commission if the seller pays us 0. So Open Door and OfferPad will pay you as an agent 1% in the case that the seller pays you 0. But remember, these guys are just the buyer. So in a normal transaction, normal listing world, you're going to have a listing commission, right? So let's use 3%. And then you've got 3% to the buyer's side. Well, what we're talking about is we're just eliminating that 3% buyer fee. The seller still should owe you a commission for 3%. Does that make sense?
Because on your examples, most of them, like Open Door, it has 6% commission.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So Open Door is just a buyer.
Yeah, it's not. It just says service charge. So yeah, that's where I'm kind of like.
Yeah. Have you ever got an offer from Open Door or anything?
I mean, not on the list.
Yeah. So there's two things. We're talking about commissions and a service fee, right? So they have two separate things that happen. When you get an offer from one of these guys, the first thing that they'll list is their service fee. So the service fee is their cost of being convenient. That's what that is. Mm-hmm. So that's a 6% fee. In our market today, I think it fluctuates somewhere around 6.5% to 7%. depends on the day. But that we saw in January of last year, they were down to 4%. They were actually buying houses for more money than I could list them for retail.
Yeah.
Right? So the number could be fluctuating, right? But that's a service fee. Then there's a commission, and that commission is paid by the seller, right? So that commission is paid by the seller. So what I'm comparing on this sheet or this example is I'm just comparing them apples to apples. I want the consumer to know that if I was to list their property retail, you were going to owe me a 6% fee. If I'm going to sell it to an iBuyer, you're going to owe me a 6% fee. And then most of our consumers are actually pretty smart, right? Now, we're living in a 1%, 2% world, right? Like, how many of you guys are actually getting 6% on all of your listings? Hard, right? I mean, some markets I go to, like Atlanta, they're still getting 7%. Property values are $150,000, but they're getting 7%, right? So the game has changed a lot, right? And so we just have to be willing to negotiate with our sellers. So what I'm showing you in the example is our first line. The first time I sit down with a consumer, I want to show them apples to apples. I want them to be able to look at this 100% transparency in a format that they'll understand and say, look, if I was going to list your property traditionally, it would be this. If you like the value proposition of the open door, but you hate my fee and you want to net more money, let's talk about reducing my fee to get you down to that number. Make sense? Question?
So the service fee is charged by the open door,
right,
or the seller.
Yep.
And that comes off their top.
It
comes off the seller's top.
Comes off the seller's net.
So if they offered 100 and
yep,
had a 6% service fee, that's 94. They're really offering 94. I mean, would you say the consumer's smart?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And on top of that, they still have to, the seller will still have to pay commission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but they do it.
So that's becoming at a low end 10%.
10%? Sellers will do it all day long.
And plus they're paying $25,000 less or whatever in your example. Then why would we do that?
Convenience. Transparency.
The deal is, look,
That's
I know.
That's why none of the young people have any savings.
But the answer is this, it doesn't matter. Like, I want you to understand that I'm not advising my client that I think that's the best option.
I know, it's their money, but
what I'm advising the client is now I'm showing them in a transparent format so now they can decide that if they want to take a $25,000 reduction to get it done fast, or maybe one of these options is available to them, like OfferPad, for example, offers a free local move. Maybe that's important to them. I don't know. But if they go to OfferPad without me, I don't get anything. Right. I also don't get to represent them on the buy side.
Right.
So 47% of the time, we end up representing them on the buy side too. So even if I make 1% because the seller paid me 0, I'm still representing them on the buy side. Right? I'd rather not lose the client.
You make that contingent?
Right.
You make that contingent, or you're just hoping they'll buy through you?
I mean, yeah, if we do our job,
they could be moving to Philadelphia.
That's why the number's not 100%.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So they move, or they're downsizing, or they're just not ever going to buy again. Yeah.
Yeah, they might go rent.
Yeah, but the point is, the value that you just explained to me, I love it. It's perfect, right? The scenario that you just gave me is perfect because what it did is it further qualified the fact that the best option for this particular consumer is probably the traditional sale, which is me, right? So instead of them having to sell their house at a discount to one of these iBuyers, they listed their property traditionally. What I did is I eliminated their doubt that that was an option for them, right? So, but I was involved in the conversation. If I don't do it and they go there without me, I don't make anything.
So when you're presenting, let's just say with Open Doors offer, right, and they break it down, like you said, the service fee, commissions, whatnot. Now, am I going to then type up and then say, and then for me to advise you right through the transaction, we're not going to charge 3%, it's probably going to be more than that 1%,
sure,
especially if they're going to go buy with us.
Yeah.
Would I also then calculate that in there, right?
Totally.
Just transparent, put that in there and say, hey, to advise you, I'm at 1%, and then here's your fees.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story about transparency. So the last thing that we added on this sheet, so we started with the simple side-by-side. The last thing that we added on this sheet was we added the commissions on the sheet. My team thought I was crazy, right? When I said to them, hey guys, I want you to show the consumer every fee that they're going to get charged. I want you to show them who pays it and how much it's going to be. And we know that it changes by some of these iBuyers, right? Some of them pay us differently than others, right? In the case of Open Door and OfferPad, we're in a super competitive market. So when my team goes out and presents this, we just presented the fact that Open Door and OfferPad pay us $0. Or the seller pays us $0, and Open Door and OfferPad will pay us 1%. And I show them that it's not a fee paid by you, it's a fee paid by the buyer. And they go, okay. So what started to happen was, when my team went out and started presenting this, they came back that week and they were like, man, look, I don't know what's going on, but these consumers actually care about us. People are actually wired to be pretty cool. The problem is we go out and we're not showing them all of their available options, so what they do is the walls start to go up. Like, we as humans are not wired to be, to try to get one over on one another. It happens when we feel that that's a defense thing. That comes from fear, right? So when I started leading with transparency, I got really cool people coming back to me going, man, you're only making 1% when you sell the property when I sell to OfferPad. Can I pay you 2? Can I pay you 3? Right? They actually came back to us with that stuff. Right? So think about, you have to shift the way the consumer, you have to start kind of trusting humans again a little bit in this.
So I guess you could really give the option. You could say, hey, so then my percentage is 1, 2, or 3%, and then give them that, right? Break down the numbers and have them look at it, right?
Yeah. We compare them all apples to apples. So I want them to make a decision that, whatever I was gonna charge them a listed traditionally is the same that I would charge them to sell it to an iBuyer. Okay. If the iBuyer, the value proposition works for them, but we're just talking about a net dollar amount, then at that point I go, look, I can help you with that. We just have to reduce my fee down to this, and then your net would go to X. And they go, oh, well, let's do that. That sounds good to me. Let's make that happen, right? But now I'm representing them through this transaction, right? Remember I told you, like, you still represent the consumer. The only person that's going to represent the consumer in all of this iBuyer world is us, the real estate agent. That's it. Open Door represents Open Door. OfferPad represents OfferPad. And if a consumer goes directly without us, they don't get represented in that transaction, right? And so you can negotiate those fees with them. You can negotiate the repair when they come back with their inspection report and they say, hey, it's $15,000, and you go, no, I think my seller would be willing to do 5. They'll do those deals, right? Okay. They will negotiate.
And that's basically what my next question was going to be: is where is our value in it?
Totally.
When I say I'm going to advise you in the transaction, I have not done this yet. Is where am I showing my value? Where my expertise is coming in? And so you're saying that I had the chance of negotiating on the repairs, and then what else?
2 places. First, up front.
Yes.
Right. So if the consumer submits them directly. So that number I gave you was 8% of the time when a property is submitted to Open Door with an agent. 8% of the time it even has 1 photo. It's actually less than that when the consumer submits directly on their own.
Okay.
Right? So the consumers aren't even sending in pictures of their own properties to these iBuyers because they don't know. They sell 1 house every 5 years, right? A consumer on average will sell 3 or 4 houses in their entire lifetime. You sell 3 or 4 a month, right? So you have to be able to educate them to say, look, you're going to get an offer, but it's not going to be an educated offer. Right, I'll be able to get you a more educated offer that's closer to value, what it would actually should sell at. And who's the best marketer of a property? Right, you are. So if you don't tell the machine that they just put new tile into the master bathroom, how's the machine going to know that you put new tile in the master bathroom?
Sure.
Right, so you're the best marketer out there. So in our property condition report, we actually list it out and we market it like we would on the MLS. Right, I'm going to tell the computer and tell the person that's looking at it, like, has anyone ever gone to visit an Open Door office?
Office? No.
It's cool, right? But they're all sitting there like they're kids and they're hacking away on computers, right? So they get a computer valuation model and they put human eyes on it afterwards to make sure that they're close in valuation and the number goes out. But if they stop and they see all of this information, they're going to go, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to adjust for that. And they start adjusting like an appraiser would.
Okay.
Right? So you start to give the machine more information and it's better information up front. They actually prefer that there's an agent involved. Their close ratio, 10x's when there's an agent involved in the transaction. Right? So they actually want consumers to be involved. They're not going to kick anybody out of bed because don't have an agent, but at the same time, they 10x their close rate when there's someone involved.
When they buy either OfferPad or Open Door, buy a house, what do they do with it afterwards? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to just hold it for a while and then resell it?
Yeah.
And how do they resell it?
Yeah. The scariest story about that is that, so when I first met Eric Wu, what he told me was he said, look, if I can buy 50,000 homes a year and I can make $1,000 a house, I'll do that. Okay, so they flip houses. They basically, it's a different asset class. It's not a flip like you and I would consider a flip house.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different deal. They get it, they make it safe, they make it livable, right? So I want you to think of these iBuyers as a little bit differently. It's almost like a trampoline. I consider it like a trampoline type buyer. They're making it super convenient for the consumer on the seller's side, right? You can sell your home, stay there for 2 weeks, whatever it might be. And then as a buyer, have you guys ever sold an open-door house? You can see it whenever you want to. It's vacant. It's ready to rock and roll. You can close whenever you want. So it's super convenient from a buyer's perspective too. They just want to be the temporary holder of the property and make it safe and clean so that this next buyer can come in and have a convenient transaction too. Does that make sense?
While still making money.
A little, right?
Yeah.
Their average is less than 1%, perhaps.
I don't understand how you can, like, as an agent, before I go to a listing, I can get offers from Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad without like them like taking the information and then going and contacting the client themselves because I don't have anything signed with them.
You do. So in our world, you do.
Okay.
So the first appointment, so the first time we actually go meet with the consumer, we take pictures, property condition report, we get that exclusive right to solicit offers agreement.
Okay.
So that in our world ends up being about 72 hours. So we make that agreement for 72 hours. The only thing that a consumer can't do in that period is list their property for sale with another agent.
So you guys are like a service that agents use?
Yeah, I mean it's a tool that agents use. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tool
It's a tool. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a form. So this forms have been adopted by them. Like,
yeah.
I'll tell you one thing about Open Door. So for example, like they measure success differently than you and I measure success. Like I assume that you measure success by the zeros in your bank account. They measure success totally differently, right? The reason that they continue to get all this money is like at the end of an Open Door transaction, the consumer gets a survey. And in that survey, the last question of the survey says, how likely are you to refer Open Door to a friend, family member, or loved one? Right now, 9 out of 10 consumers say that they would refer someone to Open Door without a real estate agent. Right? So 9 out of 10 times the consumer's saying that. So it's called a net promoter score. And that's why companies like Uber has never had a profitable quarter. It's still one of the most successful companies in the world. Right? Amazon took them 14 years to actually make any money. Right? So they're measuring success a little bit differently than we are. There's a new currency out there, and it's this net promoter score. Right? So they measure success a little bit differently.
Well, but in simple terms, like when you mentioned Uber, they have not had a profitable quarter.
Yep.
So how are they running the show? More investors?
That's it.
More investors as opposed to making money.
Yeah. It's
So
all
they
the
live off the
ancillary.
investor dollar.
It's all the ancillary things that come along with it, right? Eventually they will make money. Amazon's a perfect example of that, right? It took him 14 years to make any money. Once he started, the hockey stick went up like crazy, right? He's made tons. Richest man in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with like, Apple, IBM, all these companies, they start out a little bit differently. They've got to get the consumer eyes first.
And then
Once they've got the consumer eyes, then they control all the consumer aspects of those eyes, right? So Open Door is a great example, right?
Yeah.
You're already seeing some of the things that they're doing. They just bought a title company, right? They had an interest in, they had a JV in one, they went out and bought one, right? Mortgage, they're trying to get into mortgage, right? It's all these little ancillary things that eventually they will make money on, right? The idea of the home sale, like the scariest thing out there, I can tell you guys today, is Amazon One. Right? You guys know that Amazon bought Realogy? Right? So think about that. Amazon buys Realogy. What they really bought is they bought Cardis. Cardis is the #1 relocation company in the world. Right? So now they know when a consumer's selling and a consumer's buying. And they say to them, look, what if we told you the house sale, the cost of selling your home was 0, but you had to buy all of your goods when you move and you transact on one of our platforms? The markup on a TV is like 80%. The markup on a home sale is like 1 or 2. Right? Think about that. So like eventually, I think we do get to a world where the home sale process itself is the loss leader.
is the what?
Is the loss leader.
Oh.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening a little bit. So, like I said, 62% of the time the consumers are still choosing the traditional option, right? So the point of all of this is that we just have to eliminate their doubt. We just have to bring all these options to the table so that the consumer can now make choice. Everything else that they do as a consumer, they're able to make choice, they're able to make their own home buying or home selling decisions. We just need to help them with that in this process, right? Once we do that and we eliminate their doubt, they're still going to choose us 62% of the time, right? The rest of the time they're selling to an iBuyer, but I'm still involved in the transaction. I'm getting paid. I'm at least still involved, right? If they go there without me, I got nothing, right? So Kenny tells this story about a friend of his. His name is Rick. We did a bunch of filming for our course last week, so I got to meet the Rick the other day. So he's real. I've
been helping Rick rebuild his business.
Yeah, I met Rick. And so the story about Rick is interesting because Rick had a friend, someone he considered a friend, right? So this guy was in his CRM. He'd always, sent him messages, kept up to date with him. And one day, Kenny calls Rick, or Rick called Kenny and said, "Hey, I've got this client, and they sold their home to Zillow." And he's like, "Oh man." He's like, "Yeah, that was the good news." The bad news is they also bought their home without me, right? Because what happened is the consumer decided that because Rick didn't bring the Zillow option to him, that Rick probably wasn't willing to work with him on the buy side, right? He started to lose credibility with his client, right? First time he met with this client, he didn't show him the Zillow option, but that's what the guy wanted. He wanted a quick close. He wanted an instant offer, and the guy didn't bring that to the table. So Rick lost his client. Now this guy went out and bought another home. Like he probably sacrificed $30,000 in commissions on that deal because he wasn't willing to bring the option to the table. And the consumer went there without it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the point of this. It's not, I'm not pro iBuyer. I don't, I work with iBuyers and I sell them a lot of houses. So I think there's two things here, right? We named this course or this training Surviving and Thriving. Surviving is we got to keep those people in our database, right? Our clients are gold. All right, that is our absolute goal. That we got to make sure that we're still involved in all of these transactions. The thriving piece of this is these guys buy thousands of homes, right? So I've represented some of the biggest institutions in the world, Wall Street traded capital, right? Some of my clients are buying thousands of homes a year. No one has as much money as these guys do, right? So if I can figure out ways to sell them houses, and as a result, all of a sudden I get 62% of the time I'm getting listings, I've got a business. That's how we sold 3,500, right? So I was actually out there fishing for properties for them to buy, and as a result, I got listings. So that's the thriving piece of this, right? So there's two things here: surviving, and then the thriving piece is these guys are buyers. They want to buy houses. So let's figure out ways to sell them houses. So what we did is we created iReal Estate Pro. Go ahead.
On the second row here, under first key, invitation, group stuff, you still have an average of showings, 10. Why?
Well, I'm sorry, which one?
Okay, so the second row,
Yep.
on those examples, you still have 10 showings for each of those first key invitation.
Yeah.
The only ones you don't have any average showings are for open door. Like, is there a difference? Or
This is totally an example, so I wouldn't get stuck on that. So, that's not an accurate number.
They're just projected about how many people we'd expect to see to come look through the house before you get a transaction.
Yeah.
But like an open door, they're not. You don't have to have strangers coming walking
no,
through
I
the
know.
house.
I understand that. So I expected the same from invitation, root stock, and whatever.
It should be one. It should be one.
Okay,
Yeah.
it should be one.
It should be one.
So not.
Yeah, it should be one.
And is there a reason why you couldn't sell to or bring an offer from one of the iBuyers if you already have the listing?
No, you should. I think it's your job.
Absolutely.
I would actually argue it's probably your fiduciary responsibility. Right? So if you know these iBuyers exist and all these institutions exist in your market and you're not getting an offer for your client, isn't that our job? That's why they hired us. They wanted us to get offers on the property.
Well, they said don't bring anything lower than asking price.
Have you ever taken a listing at $300,000 and you get an offer at $280 and your seller tells you to counter at $285? Did they really want $300? No, they wanted $285. Right?
So you can counter the iBuyer too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is this what Haig is doing?
Similar?
Is this what he's doing?
Yeah.
Because he says, I'll get you, 10
Multiple
offers
offers.
in 1 weekend. I assume the offers are from
Yep.
all these guys.
They are. Yep. You
Not
got
from-
your own
not from
72
people
sold.
off the street.
You're the 72 sold guy now.
Yeah.
There you go. So our mission as real estate agents, so Kenny and I are both real estate agents. I own an independent brokerage here in town. It's called Venture REI. Kenny's obviously a Keller Williams agent, so he's sat at the right hand of Gary Keller. This industry gave us a lot. So what we had to learn is, we said, look, we need to create something to empower real estate agents for a better consumer experience. We know that these consumers are kind of stuck in all this. Like, if you guys are confused about this, think about what your consumers are thinking.
Yeah.
Right? There's a new iBuyer that comes into our market every day. Like, Sunday is one of the biggest buyers in your market. Most of you guys didn't even know they were here.
No, I've never
Right.
even seen them.
Yeah. So it's huge, and it's a huge thing that's happening, right? I can tell you that there's more money being dumped in the disruption of our industry right now than we've ever seen before in any other disrupted industry in history. Right? So more than insurance, more than cars, more than Uber and Lyft and all those things. It's real, right? This is actually really happening, and so we have to do something about it. So what we did is we created iReal Estate Pro. It's basically broken down into 4 sections, so the course looks a little bit different than this today. First section is the certification part, right? So we actually go through 10 separate modules, and we train you on everything from how to get leads and how to drive traffic to this, thinking about consumer thinking and mindset. We go through all that. We go through the process. We want to show you actually how to sit down with a consumer and build some of these tools and these net sheets and use all that stuff. And so we do that. It takes about 3.5 hours to go through the entire certification. Once you're certified, we open up the lab. And inside of the lab is where we have 6 years of all of our postcards, mailers, marketing pieces, letters, all those things that we've ever sent to consumers. Those are in the lab. All of our ISA scripts. So are any of you guys using ISAs right now? Call people, any of that kind of stuff? So all of our ISA scripts are available in there too. Listing presentations, that exclusive right to solicit offers forms available in there. And then this sheet here, so this is actually a NetSheet tool. So this, you don't have to be a crazy Excel wizard to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
This is actually just a tool. So we actually sit down and we show consumers, or you just pump in the information and it spits it out into this format, so you don't have to be a wizard to be able to do that. We also have simple side-by-side ones too, so if you have a consumer that maybe this would be a little ominous to them, you can bring them a simple form where it's just 2 or 3 different options available to them, but at least you're showing them all their available options. The other piece of this is the continuing education, and I think that's super important. So like a group like Sunday, they just opened in our market about 30 days ago, right? So if I taught you about iBuyers once, it would actually be doing you a failure. We have to teach you about iBuyers all the time. They're constantly changing. These are startups. These are new companies.
Justin Coping.
Yep. So their models constantly change, right? Things are constantly changing in what's happening with this methodology. The other thing is like Zillow, for example, announced the big change in how they're going to pay real estate agents, right? So they called me first. We went over it in our community first. We shared it with our community of agents first, and then we were able to give that information to them first, right? So being involved in the community is super important. We're also getting a lot of agents to share their best practices, right? So agents in Atlanta are now sharing information with agents in Phoenix. Agents in Denver, right? They have tools and things that they're using in their markets that are working really well. There's also things that we're learning that aren't working, right? We're saying, hey, this doesn't work, guys. Here's why it didn't work for me. And agents are starting to share that information in the community, which is going to be kind of cool. The third piece is we have this iBuyer database. So in the iBuyer database here, so I named off a few different iBuyers, but in your market today, like I said, there's probably 17 available iBuyers in your market today. All those iBuyers are listed here. So basically you would go inside the iBuyer database, click Arizona. The iBuyers that are available in that market will open up here. We share their buy box information, so we tell you which properties that they would buy. We also tell you how to submit to them, and then their key value propositions to the consumer. So you don't have to learn all this stuff. We already did it for you, so it's already all available in here. It's a database. Here's a look inside of the lab. So you've got picture-taking guides, home sale process, the exclusive right to solicit offers agreement. All the stuff's available inside of the lab. All the marketing materials and all the stuff you're going to need is here. Every single iBuyer, this is what it looks like inside of the iBuyer database. So you have the submission link to every single iBuyer. So we have special submission links to every single iBuyer. So Open Door has a very simple API connection that we made to them.
To all of them, huh?
Yep. So you have one-stop shop for that. The other piece of this, I told you guys about like my world being mostly institutions. So I work with a lot of big banks. And a lot of the buyers that are available in your market today are these big banks. And the only way you can access them is access through here. And so you submit your property here one time, and you get multiple offers back from all these institutions. So the open door offer pad Zillows of the world, we call that the zoo. Those guys will never aggregate. You'll never see the Priceline.com of offers, right? This idea that you would submit to one place and get multiple options just is never going to happen. They don't want to play that way. They all say they don't want to be kayaked, is their phrase. The reason is it's about that consumer experience. They want to make sure that when you're talking when they're talking to you or presenting their offer, that offer was presented their way, right? And if there's something in between that, they start to lose that consumer experience. So you'll never see that. But the institutions aren't set up that way. The institutions just buy on a number. They buy on a yield. So they want to know how much money they're going to give you their best. They're going to put their best foot forward every single time. So you submit here, and then you get all the offers from all the institutions as well on all of your properties. So.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
In you dealing with these iBuyer, do you see them, going into the luxury market where it's like $1 million or more? Do you see them creating an open door luxury division? Yeah.
So the answer is yeah. Eventually, yeah. So Open Door just opened in San Diego, up to $1.6 million. Right. So we're paying up to $1.6 million for a property in San Diego. But better than that, it really doesn't matter. So some of the most successful agents now using our system are luxury agents. They're agents in markets where there aren't even iBuyers. And the reality is like, have you ever seen on an open door billboard or commercial their buy box? Does it ever tell the consumer what they'll buy? Right? So the consumer has no idea. So the idea is you still market the same way, right? They're getting 18,000 consumer leads every single month in our market. So there's 18,000 consumers. Not all of those people do they actually get an offer from Open Door, right? But the reality is the consumer wants this. They want to transact this way, or they at least want to know if this is an option for them.
Yeah.
So by eliminating the doubt that it is an option for them, you're still involved, right? So luxury agents are using this tool now to market the same way. They say, look, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get you as many options as I can. They might only end up with 2 because they're local investors that will be willing to buy some of those properties. But guess what? That further qualified them as in an eliminated the consumer doubt that one of these other options is available to them. Right? That make sense?
Yeah. So question,
Yep.
probably about a year ago, I think it was Open Door. So I responded to their ad on my home. And, they put a number out there.
Yep.
So, they say, whatever, call, follow up. So I did. And when they found out that I'm an agent, they didn't move forward.
Yep.
So why? Like, what does it matter?
Yeah. Were you seriously considering selling your home?
Not really. I kind of wanted to learn the process, but still, so that made me feel like, okay, they don't really want to deal with agents.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a unique situation. Like, I've never known that to be true of them at all. Like, they have a very kind of systematic process in that. And so, 2 things. Like, when you get on the website, you have 2 ways to enter your property. You can either enter it as an agent, or you can enter it as a consumer. My guess is you entered it as a consumer.
I did.
And
because I was going to make I was going to make
so
commission on my own home.
You confused the system, is what I'm saying. So you should have entered it as agent and just put 0 commission in there for yourself, and then they would have known that. Like, because you're a licensee, you're held to a different standard than most, and so that's why they have those 2 options available there. So try it tonight, like go in there. Like, if anything else, I would suggest to you guys, like, you learn nothing from today. Go out, put your own property into their websites, because when you do that, like, the worst thing that happens is you gum up their system for a little bit, and then slow down. No, I'm kidding. But you learn the system. Like, you want to know what your consumers are looking at. Like, these are offers. Like, these are offers back from some of these iBuyers. Like, can you imagine your client gets this? This is what they see. Imagine them trying to interpret this. Right, like, look at this. If you were to look at this is Zillow's offer, right? So sell to Zillow, they're going to net $242. traditional sale, they're going to net $1,000 more, right? But what this doesn't tell the consumer is their cost of convenience, right? They're not breaking all that stuff down.
Or that little before repair adjustment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So a consumer has no idea.
Yeah.
Like, they just have no way of understanding it, right? So look at the offer pad offer. Right? They just list it as a number.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to educate our consumers and let them know what's happening here.
Was that table showing their that 5 or 6%? What do you call it, a service fee?
Yeah.
Does that show that up there?
On this?
Yeah.
Service charge.
Yeah. So it's right here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's right there. Yeah, so they tell the consumers. I mean, they're not trying to hide anything from the consumers. It's about consumer interpretation. The consumers don't get it. Right? They're selling one home every 5 years. They don't understand it. So they're going, what the hell is this thing? I don't get it. The other piece of this is we give you guys a website. So we think, like you mentioned, Craig Egg has his 72 sold. We think that, the reality is, I told you guys, Open Door sees 18,000 organic leads every month. We all agreed that none of us are getting 18,000 leads on our own website. So what we need is we need our own cash offer website, right? The consumer spoke. The consumer says that I at least want availability to the instant offer, right? How many of you guys were buying Zillow leads? How many of you are still buying Zillow leads? Right? Well, you're not buying them anymore. You're getting a referral from Zillow.
Well, true. Well, my husband also is a lender, so we do buy on that side, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so the reality is, even they have shifted to this. And the reason is because consumers are demanding instant offer.
Mm-hmm.
The consumer wants to transact this way. They at least want to try, right? So if you look at Zillow's website, in some markets now, they've eliminated the Zestimate. It doesn't exist anymore. It will be gone here shortly. Like the Zestimate's history. They're not using it anymore as an option. And what it's now, it's only, what is someone willing to pay for my home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how many of you guys have buy, sell, invest on your website today? What if you had instant offer, right? So I mean, if the consumer wants to transact this way, that's it. One of the weird things that we learned at Unlock is actually don't even qualify Zillow as an iBuyer anymore, right? So Zillow, they said to us, they said, look, the only reason we created this platform for consumers to be able to buy a house, when we wanted to buy consumers' houses, is because there was so much demand for it. And if the consumer went off of our website, we probably would lose them forever. So we had to at least have the option for them, right? So this idea is that, by having your own instant offer option for your consumer, at least now you have the option, right? If you don't have it, they're going to go find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? So what we give you is a free template to be able to have your own instant offer website. So this could be a standalone site, or it could just be an additional page to your own site. All the marketing materials, the postcards, all those things that we send out, we point everything back to our website. This is a landing page where I want people to go to so that they can enter their property address, and now I'm capturing the information, be able to contact them and say, hey, can I come out to your house, take some pictures? I want to make sure I'm going to get you an accurate offer of the property. Right? The most educated offer that I possibly can.
So the landing, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
The landing page then is geared towards us, right?
Yep.
Then we would get the information,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't do any aggregation for you. We don't monitor the website. This is your own site. So this is a WordPress site that you're going to have host on your own. So we have a team that will help you build this if you want to.
Okay.
Some people are savvy enough where they can download and host their own domain. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah.
But for $150, our team will actually set this up and host it for you.
Okay.
So you enter all of your own contact information on
Yeah.
here. It is your own website.
Okay.
Right? It's your own templated cash offer website. It's
And then
very-
can we add more pages to it if we wanted
You
to?
can. It's a WordPress site. So yeah, you can add tons of pages on there if you want to. Look inside of our community here. So our community is based in a Facebook group. So once you get through and you get certified, so we need to make sure that everybody has the same level of understanding as a minimum. So when we get in there, you get yourself certified, you can be a member of our community too. Tons of information gets shared in here. We go live once a month where Kenny and I will actually answer questions for agents. We also do a ton of live interviews with a lot of the C-level executives at all these iBuy companies, right? What I want to make sure is that we as agents hear from them. I want them to be able to have a platform to be able to communicate with us, right? And so that's the key of the community, is that we're sharing all these best practices from agents just like us. Like, we all have to learn from each other. We have to go from here. So, what do we believe? We believe now that, big data is the norm. So my team last year, like I said, we did 3,500 transactions. I didn't pay for one Zillow lead, right? All of the information that I get are from the title company, right? I get it for free from Fidelity, right? So I go out to these guys and they say, look, who's the most likely seller? Anybody ever do circle prospecting? Mm-hmm. So think about this. Open Door last month bought over 400 homes in our market. What if you circle prospected 100 most likely sellers on every single Open Door purchase? It's got 4,000 leads. Right? All those people, now you can contact them with a different message. Right? Like, I don't know what you're saying on your circle prospect today. When I used to tell my team to circle prospect, they'd look at me like cross-eyed and go, what do I say? But the script now is, hey look, do you know what your neighbors did at 123 Main Street last night? They sold their property to one of these iBuyers. Have you heard about these guys? God, this disruption's going on. It's crazy. Like, I'm sure you're confused, and I was too, but I got myself educated. Now I know how to work with these guys. Let me at least show you what options are available to you, so when it is time to sell, you know what option is available to you. And they go, okay, cool. 3 out of 10 times, my agents are going out and meeting with people on that same script. 3 out of 10. The other piece is like expiring leases. Anyone ever circle prospect on expiring leases?
It's been a while.
Right. So, an RMLS is like the best one out there. So I've traveled around the country. I'm seeing different MLSs, and ours is awesome compared to most. 120 days out is the date that we kind of picked as the best date. 150 was too much. 90 was too short. We said 120 days out, we know that the seller or the landlord has a predictable event. Right? The landlord is going to have to either sell, release the property to the current tenant, find a new tenant at a different lease price, fix it up and sell. Right? They've got some event's going to happen. What if I could provide them all of these options during that period where they can make an educated decision? The worst thing that happens is they might tell me they want to buy more investment property. Right? We have 11,000 expiring leases in our MLS every single month. Free leads.
And then you guys have marketing for that, right?
Yeah.
You already have templates set up for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So inside the course you get all the things that we already covered. Radio ads, the certification logos to promote. So anyone know Elaine Sansucci? Isn't she my home group agent?
I think she was really executive, isn't she?
I don't know. I think she's my own now, but she's one of our agents now. So she came up with a really cool door hanger, right? So she's a door hanger now. It says, hey, I got certified in all this stuff. She's dropping it out. Any of you guys ever get the CDPE designation during the short sale period? No. Similar to that. So using the logo and letting your consumers know that you're different. You've actually taken the time to educate yourself in all this is super important. Interviews with industry leaders, all of our lead generation techniques, all the offer presentation tools, all these tools out there. You don't have to be an Excel wizard again to figure all this stuff out. So because of our partnership with Fidelity, and my home group brought us in today, our normal price of our course is $499. So today we're offering it at $299. And the ongoing, to be a member of the community and get the continued education that comes with that, is $49 a month. You can pay it all up front, and you get 2 free months if you do that for a year. It would be $499 for the year. But really, you're talking about less than what, like a really expensive dinner at City Hall or Masco or something like that. And you get yourself educated. You get all of these tools and a free website out of the deal. Right? So the website alone is about a $3,500 website that you get as part of this. And you get to come be part of all of Don's awesome training that he does in addition to all of our training here. So we're constantly updating it. So today the course is 10 modules. By January 1st, we'll have about 14 different modules in there. So you as a member get all the updated information as we get it. We're learning about what agents need. What other things do they need out there?
Yeah.
And how else can we serve them? Right? This industry has gave us both a lot. So Kenny and I are trying to give back to the industry a little bit. So as part of that, we're in the lab and we're coming up with new material for you guys all the time. So that's what we do inside the course. To get started, just go to irealestatepro.com, hit join today, get certified today. So you select one of those 2 options there, and enter that discount code, and you guys will get your $200 off. So take a picture of that, go in there and do it.
you and Kenny go around the country sharing this marketing platform?
We do. Yeah.
Do you get investment from these iBuyer companies?
No.
Like they put money into?
No, they love it. I mean, the groups like Open Door, OfferPad, so those guys, like we meet with them constantly to learn about the ways that we as agents can better serve them and the ways that we can cohabitate in this environment. They actually really like it. They want consumers to be smart. They don't want to take advantage of consumers. Like if you think about it, a Zillow, for example, the last thing that Zillow needs is, Granny to say that Zillow took advantage of her and took $20,000 away from her. Right? That would make front headline news, and so they don't want that. They want educated consumers. They only want to be the choice of that consumer when that's the best choice for that consumer.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. And that's the game. So what they don't, what ends up happening though is our consumers go there without us. They're uneducated about all the other available options to them, and they just go, okay, I'll do it. And then they end up with egg on their face later on. Right? So
but there's mass media advertising to the consumer.
There is.
They're inviting them to come.
Yeah, that's the beauty in all this. This is why the real estate agent never dies. The real estate agent's actually empowered by that. Like, the more iBuyers that come along, the better, in my opinion, right? I can tell you when we started sharing it this way, right? I would share with my consumer like traditional sale, open door, offer pad. The more buyers I added to my net sheet, the higher my conversion went. Every single time I added a buyer to my net sheet, my number goes up. Because what am I doing? I'm eliminating consumer doubt. Right, so if I can eliminate their doubt that there's other options available to them, my conversion is going to go up. Right, so if I could add 100 people on my net sheet, it would. Absolutely. Right?
It just confuses them.
Yeah, you as a real estate agent are the ultimate aggregator.
Yeah.
I just told you there'll never be a Priceline.com. These guys will never all swim together. They're all different companies. Right? But what's scary is like Open Door as a company, they're massive, right? But they all have the same mission. And we as a real estate industry, we don't have that same thing. We're all independent contractors, right? So we all have a different mission. We all have a different story we're telling. So our consumers are confused.
Yeah.
There's no question, right?
Yeah.
So if we can unify and say, look, we're going to do this. We're going to be the ultimate aggregator. We're going to give you guys all this information because we can, and let you decide as a consumer. We're empowering the consumer.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Right.
How many subscribers do you have on your platform?
Just under 3,000.
Are you trying to get to 100,000 and then try to take it public, or?
No, so we limit the number of people that will subscribe to our system in every market to 1,000. So we're getting close in Phoenix, but we limit it to 1,000 in every single market.
And why is that?
We just, we need to be able to make sure that our certified agents have a competitive advantage over an uncertified agent, right? There's some reason that they have to continue to be certified. So.
And how long have you been here in this market?
We started August 8th was our first event. So Fidelity hosted an event for us August 8th. I think we had like 500 people there. It was crazy.
And people were building the hallway, standing up, and then all standing in the back. It was crazy.
It was crazy. So some rooms we go to, like Kenny and I travel around the country now. Like I think today's in Fresno. Some rooms I walk into and they're like this, and some rooms I walk into and there's 300 people into. So kind of never know what we walk into, but it's interesting to find out where markets are. Like Portland, I was in Portland a couple of months ago. For example, Portland just has 2 buyers. They have Zillow and Open Door. That's it right now. But all these other guys, like, it's on their radar. They know they're coming in, so those agents are in a different place than we are.
Right.
Like, we're way ahead of this. We already know, like, Kenny and I wish we could travel around with a crystal ball and go, this is what you guys are going to see in a couple of years, right? The reason that all these guys start here is you can drive from one end of our city to the other in about an hour, right? It's easy to get around and all that. And our houses are so easily measured, right? Like, it's the same house repeated over and over again. So that's why they all start here. Super simple.
Yeah. So, and if you choose to go down this path, so what we've done is last month we did a class where we went in and guided people through the labs and the trainings. And so next year we're going to be doing like a breakdown. And we were just talking about, like, I helped somebody this morning build out their Facebook ad to start driving traffic to their own iBuyer website. So we're going to have a series of classes next year that anybody who's invited or who's certified is going to be invited to come to right at our corporate office over here on Range 101. So you're going to be able to come to those. We're going to talk about different scripts. We're going to talk about different ways of aggregating new potential sellers. We're going to talk about other partners that we've got that are involved that provide data for us to help us to get phone numbers, email addresses, all of that for all of these folks. We're going to talk about the online advertising piece. We're going to do different classes on each piece, and so all of you will be invited to attend those, because there's a lot. And when you get into this lab, there's a lot.
Yeah.
And so really it comes down to now, how are we going to put it to practice? Not everybody wants to go knock doors. But does door knocking work?
Yes.
It works for people who do it.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to go dial, but for the people who do it, it works.
Yeah.
So we're going to dissect those different pieces for you and help you to, the ones that work for you, the things that you want to leverage, we plug into that.
Yeah. Yeah, one of our agents in Portland, was a guy that was a little reluctant. I think he was just kind of questioning whether this process would work for him, and he adopted it now. And his name's Sid, so he's in our community and he's constantly posting about his success with this. But he chose the path of FSBOs, and he said, I'm going to go to FSBOs with this message and say, hey, guys, you want to sell your house. I know you're ready to sell. Let me just go out and provide you a bunch of options. But here's the deal. I got to come take pictures. I've got to get a property condition report. And I've got to have you sign this agreement so I have permission to go be able to get these offers for you. And when I do that, I'll come back and I'll educate this. He's still reporting now, so he's reporting that 80% of the time the consumer's selecting the traditional sale option and listing the property with him after he's done that.
Love it.
Right. So I talked to a girl on the way over here from Atlanta. Her team, they just hired an ISA. Right. So she chose the Circle Prospect around open door sales. She hired an ISA. The ISA started this morning. They set 4 appointments for tomorrow. Right. So
What's an ISA again?
It's like an
internal sales agent.
Yeah.
I know,
so
I see it.
Some without they have a license.
And that's something we can help you guys with as well. We've got a resource that we're leveraging for, you can choose to pay for a monthly. If you want to hire somebody part-time, you want to hire somebody full-time. If you want to hire somebody just to pay, you're only going to pay if they're successful and pay a referral fee. We've got a organization that we're set up with them on as well.
That you're getting on board with, or you have right now?
Dan and I actually use them for some other projects we're on. And they're now, I'm just waiting for the referral agreement to come back from them, but people are hiring them already part-time and full-time.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to hire ISAs like in our office, having bank loans from our office. It's just a management nightmare.
It's a rough thing to hire for.
Yeah.
It's one of the
So we
toughest
found a
jobs.
really good company that does it. Like, my suggestion is do it yourself first. Like my thing is always like, do it yourself first. Once you know it, then you can teach it.
Okay.
You can't teach it unless you know it.
Sure.
So make sure you know how to do it and say, okay, this is the message I want to deliver.
Yeah.
And then, bring someone else in on your team to help people to do that.
Okay.
But another kind of quick thing I'll share with you guys too is open houses. So like we don't do open houses anymore. We do offer houses.
Offer
Right.
houses. Okay.
So it's about being different. So just be a little bit different in our market. We have 75,000 licensees or something in our market. It's a crazy year. Everybody's doing an open house, but my signs say offer house. Right. So if you go by one of my team's listings, they all say offer house. And what we do is we start on Tuesday. We go out and we door knock all the people in our area. Right, so we go out and knock the 100 people most likely to sell around that property. And we say, look, I'm going to be at this house on Saturday from 11 to 4. What I'm doing is I'm going to be able to show you this house, but in addition to that, I want to tell you what your property's worth. The only way I can do that is I got to take pictures. I've got to get a property condition report. I got to sign this agreement. Have you heard about all these iBuyers? These guys are crazy. They're buying houses at more than retail. It might be the greatest time ever to sell your home. Why don't you just let me take pictures today, and when you come back on Saturday to come visit my offer house, I'll present all these options to you, and then you can just decide. I just want to empower you as a consumer. Right? The worst thing that happens from that is we add these people into our CRM.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that happens. The best thing that happens is I just enlighten them to the idea that this might be an option for them.
And you
Right.
still have them sign the agreement?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you get any pushback from that?
No. I mean, some say no, we're not interested.
Yeah.
That's okay. Right? But at least now I have a reason to door knock the house instead of me saying,
Bringing value.
hi, I'm Dan. I'm an awesome real estate agent. You should hire me.
You should hire me.
Yeah. I'm really cool. Yes, sir.
Question. So you see these companies like Invitation Home, they buy and then they rent. What's their game plan? Just to keep buying and rent? Keep
Oh, yeah.
buying and rent?
keep buying and renting. So, you know, the institution's an interesting animal. Like, it's a big segment of our market that's like under discussed, in my opinion. I think it should be talked about a little bit more. We can go down this rabbit hole for hours, but the reality is these guys buy houses, they turn them into rentals. They sell those securitized portfolios at market as like stocks. So now you can buy stock in Invitation Homes, and you actually own a bunch of rental properties. That's what the business does. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so
So
they
they're publicly
keep
traded.
buying.
They're publicly traded companies. So they're pixie dust. These properties will never come back in our lifetime. They'll never come back on the market.
You know, you sound they'll just hold on for forever.
Yeah.
That's their asset.
Yeah.
To
As of
sell
this morning,
securities.
IMN opened in Phoenix this morning, and they were talking about most of there's 6 big institutions that buy homes like this, and all 6 of them said they want to grow 4 times the size that they are today.
So they have unlimited money, they'll just buy it, they never sell, that kind of thing. That's kind of business model.
That's it. Yeah, they turn them into rental properties. You know, there's a big pent-up demand for rentals. Like, have you ever taken a rental listing? You know, we have a little property management company in my business, and when I list a property for rent, you'll get 15, 20 applications on the property.
Yes.
Right? But that's actually never changed. Like, any market cycle we've ever been through, that's how many rental properties we see.
There's
right?
always
So
people renting.
there's a big demand, and right, single family for rent is a new asset class, and the reason it's important is only 11% of rental properties from a multifamily perspective have more than 3 bedrooms. Right, so a single family home most of the time has 3 bedrooms, right? But think about all that segment of people that still need 3 bedrooms. They can't go to an apartment, they have to rent something else, right? They made it really affordable, and these guys have created machines. Like, this is a business, it's a real thing. You know, you're talking about companies like Blackstone, Cerberus, Fortress. These are giant institutional firms that are buying single bedrooms. Yes, ma'am?
I apologize if you already answered this because I came a little
Nope.
bit, but I'm assuming that as part of that, since you're your own team, that you're throwing your own offers in that you're probably buying for wholesale as part of the service.
Yeah.
And do you have a cap on the number of local wholesalers or investors that you're allowing to be in your program?
We do. So to answer your first part of your question
It's
about...
kind of, there's kind of like 16 parts to that question,
Yeah.
but that's kind of high level.
Yeah, I'll tackle it in pieces.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
The first part of the question was, am I one of the buyers on the sheet? The answer is yeah. I don't compete with my clients, but what I do buy is stuff that's outside of their buy box.
Okay.
So for example, like, I know that Open Door offer pads, so they won't buy single family, or they won't buy townhomes.
Condos, yeah.
Right, so on the townhome scenario, my offer will get on the page.
Got it.
If it's a property that requires a massive amount of rehab, and I know they're going to decline it, because they have the maximum rehab allowance, about $25,000, then I'll say my offer. I'll put my offer on those sheets because I know that their offer isn't available.
And do you do that for all of your people that are enrolled in the program? So are you putting your own personal offers
No.
on all of our?
No.
So, but as if we're in your program, we could. I'm an investor, so that's what I'm asking. Like, is there any restrictions on that?
No. Yeah, it's your own system. Like, we
And
don't see your offers.
So you might be like, we're capping that 'cause we've got 10 guys in the system. We don't do any more. Or something.
No, we have the only offers that we will aggregate for you are the ones that you submit through our Renew link. And so on the Renew link, you're going to get access to all the institutions. So right
including
now,
Progressive.
Yeah. So right now in Phoenix, like, I'm the only institutional broker in Phoenix, right? So you, in order to get an offer, you'd have to send it to my team anyways.
Yeah.
So now we just made it easy. You just submit it to that button there. We'll aggregate that information for you. And we have some local investors on there too, but they're buy and hold investors, so not necessarily flippers. The maximum number of investors we allow in the market is 10. On, through our network. But we may make an offer here, and you may just decide that you only want to look at our institutional offers. You don't have to present the offer from our local guy if that's competitive to whatever you're doing. Right? One of the most successful agents in our programs in Boise, Idaho. And Boise doesn't even have an iBuyer yet, right? So he is the iBuyer. The reality is they do have Amazon, right? So the messaging works for the consumer, and the consumers are wanting to transact this way. So he's become the iBuyer. He's the guy that's buying those houses. Any other questions?
Maybe the tag on to that of your data for Phoenix, what percentage of people are going with a institutional or wholesale kind of pricing option?
Yeah, so right now, like I said, 62% of the time the consumers are selecting the traditional option. Of that segment of 40%, about 25% are selecting an offer from either Open Door or Offer Pad.
Got it.
Yeah, the rest of them are going either institutional or they're just not selling right now. Now, that changes like some, like the
Right.
property has massive rehab, they're obviously going to go to a flipper, right? Like
Of course.
it has to deal with the property, so it's less about the buyer, more about what condition the property's in. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Of all the institutional buyers that you represent,
Yeah.
which do you see, I know you're talking about publicly traded companies, which do you see as like the one you think is going to excel more than any other in the next 10 years?
Trick question. No. Invitation's the biggest. You know, they're the biggest monster for sure. They're 2 times the size of the next largest institution out there that owns single-family homes. They've got more capital than most. I would think that they're very well led. Like that company was built in Phoenix. So there's a guy named Dallas Tanner that started that company here. So he's the godfather of single-family home for rent. And I think that they're in a really good position to capitalize on that. But that's any of these companies can make it happen, right? Some of them are funded by Goldman, some of them are funded by Fortress, right? So I mean, as these companies grow, you never know what's going to happen.
I think they only started when the market crashed here. I don't think they ever existed before.
They did.
And
Yeah.
since you have some of the same investors that anyway, to me it's like the whole crash was kind of created for a purpose. I mean, you have the same people that bought these homes.
Yeah, but they're still buying today. Right, they made the money for sure when they bought a bunch of those lower end assets, but they're still buying homes right now, right? So their cost of capital. Like if you and I go get a mortgage, our interest rate might be 4.5%, 5%. Their interest rate's like 1 point over LIBOR, 2.5%, 3%, right? So they're paying nothing for cost of capital, and they just have this massive scale. Right? So there's sometimes these institutions buy houses where I'm like shocked that they'd even buy it or they could even make it cash flow. But they're okay making 2 or 3% on their money, right? Whereas you and I hope we're not good, making 2%. Right? Just go put your money in a savings account. Anything else? I'll stick around for a sec too if anybody has questions.
Thanks. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Dan.
Brian.
Venture area. Investment side, we do the investment side. That's our niche. Like we got into this out of default. Like I started this process. I'll put my institution on here.
Oh, she's got it.
Yeah. I think you guys do questions.
We do. We do.
Yeah, I guess.
At 168.